for watching us. Is the President of the United States threatening reporters? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As you may know, there is budget chaos in Washington that may result in some small, automatic spending cuts. Story's been going on for months. Federal government under President Obama simply cannot get a responsible budget passed. Since the president was elected in 2008, this has happened every year. Recently, Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward of Watergate fame criticized the Obama administration for spinning the budget issue. And Woodward is correct. This is crazy. No responsible administration would embrace a federal debt that could reach $20 trillion by 2016. We elect presidents to be responsible, efficient, and beholden to all the people. What Barack Obama is doing is irresponsible. He's spending the country into bankruptcy. There's no reason on earth why Mr. Obama cannot begin to cut the budget, yet he resists. He wants to raise taxes, but refuses to reform the out-of-control entitlement situation. Bob Woodward knows this. Every responsible journalist knows this. So Woodward wrote it, and he says the Obama administration didn't like what he wrote.
Well, they're not happy at all, and some people kind of, said, look, we don't see eye to eye on this. They never really said, though, afterwards they've said that this is factually wrong, and it was said to me in an email by a top...
What was said, yeah.
It was said very clearly, you will regret doing this.
Who sent that email to you?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Was it a senior person at the White House?
A very senior person.
That person was Gene Sperling, an economic advisor to the president. To be fair, I read the emails between Sperling and Woodward, and there does not seem to be any threat as far as a reprisal is concerned. Looks like Sperling is telling Woodward he is wrong on the issue and will regret being wrong. But I could be wrong because tone does not appear in email. Now, it's certainly true that the Obama administration does not like to be criticized by the press. And if you are perceived to be an enemy, they'll cut off access. The press should complain loudly about that because we need our honest reportage. We also need to stop the ideological nonsense in this country and demand that both parties start looking out for the folks. It's clear to me President Obama wants to create an enormous nanny state for political reasons and also because he thinks America is not fair to the have-nots. The president's entitled to his opinion, of course, but by creating fiscal chaos, he's not helping anyone. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight. What exactly is going on behind the scenes in Washington? Join us on Capitol Hill, Fox News Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel. And from the White House, Ed Henry covers the president for us. So, Ed, David Plouffe, former senior Obama guy, also attacked Woodward, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the interesting thing. Today in the daily briefing, Jay Carney was pushing back on this idea that there was any threat to Bob Woodward and said, in fact, the email exchange, as you suggested, didn't really seem that rough. And in the words of Carney, was respectful, in fact. And he said that's what the president expects when you deal with the media around here. But then I pressed Carney on the fact that, look, it didn't sound so respectful when David Plouffe went on Twitter last night and basically compared Bob Woodward to a washed-up baseball player who's a has-been hack, basically. That's not very respectful, and that's reflective of how folks around here sometimes are disrespectful to the media. They do push back, but frankly, I think in general, pushing back is part of their job, and so that part of this, well, do they have sort of the back of a hand to the media? Do they cut off access if you're not so friendly to them? Sure, that happens around here. But on the other hand, I think Mr. Woodward's a big boy, and the idea that somehow they were being mean to him, Jay Carney is paid, as is Gene Sperling, to lay out the president's agenda and push back when they think somebody's saying something they don't like about the president.
Now, do you get the feeling that President Obama and his guys and gals understand that public opinion is turning against them here on this whole budget mess, and largely because of Woodward? Woodward has a lot of credibility in this country, and Woodward is now opposed to the president. And
right.
we're starting to see a shift against Mr. Obama. Do they recognize that, in your opinion?
Yes and no. In the short term, they think public opinion is on their side, and there's a number of polls suggesting that some of the gloom and doom the president has laid out there with his cabinet about the sky maybe falling, the Chicken Little stuff, about your flights are going to be delayed, and Janet Napolitano saying the country would be less safe. That has certainly gotten the country's attention somewhat. But I've talked to senior people around here who in private are more realistic and say what they're very worried about is that the president may win the short-term battle here, but in about 3 weeks from now, after these forced cuts go through, it may not be so bad. And people out there across the country might actually say, look, we can cut more government spending, and they're really worried that will impact the larger budget debate that's coming at the end of the month when the entire government runs out. And what that'll do is handcuff the president.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe they'll let more criminals out of prison, so they'll overrun all the neighborhoods, and then maybe.
Well, and if
that's being facetious, Henry, don't even reply to me. Don't even reply to my facetious stupidity. All right, all right, Emanuel. Wait, I got to get to Emanuel then. Okay, now Boehner. All right, now Boehner is the other side of the coin here, and I'm sure he's enjoying the Woodward controversy. Does Boehner have anything? I mean, does he have any power anymore to get anything done, or is Obama just overrun him?
Well, Bill, first of all, Republicans up here on Capitol Hill think that if the White House is taking on Bob Woodward, well, then they are losing. Aides close to Speaker Boehner, and Boehner himself would say that personally they have a good relationship. Professionally, he and President Obama have a disastrous relationship. I've heard Boehner say himself that the president does not have the guts, does not have the courage to take on the left, to take on those close to him, to do meaningful cuts, what needs to be done long term, such as dealing with Medicare, dealing with Medicaid. And so they think that he's a lot more comfortable going out across the country, giving speeches, beating up on the Republicans than he is rolling up his sleeves with fellow Democrats and Republicans to try to get a big deal. They're saying that tomorrow's meeting at the White House with the top 4 congressional leaders will be essentially a photo op, a face-saving measure, and they think the president overplayed his hand in terms of saying all these disastrous things are coming. They say the American people, you cut 2.4% of the budget, big deal. They think a lot of the American public had to cut more than that from their own personal budgets through the recession, and so they think they are winning on this issue, and now they think that next week they will take some steps to make sure that some of these cuts are done a little bit more strategically, Bill.
All right. Now, I got about a minute left, Henry. This meeting tomorrow, does the president have any expectations, or is it, as Mike said, just a dog and pony show?
I think Mike's right. People inside the building here at the White House think that the sequester is going to go through. Their real fear, Bill, is not about this. It's about the end of the month. The entire government spending runs out, and that's when you'll really see pain, where, you know, national parks close down, the things we saw back in the Gingrich-Clinton days. That will really get the public's attention. And what they're worried about here around the White House, I'm told, is that if these forced cuts come into place and reduce government spending and become the new normal levels at the end of the month when they do the broader budget debate, that's going to constrain the president in his second term for giving out things in the State of the Union. He talked about, like, you know, free preschool for 4-year-olds and stuff like that. There's just not going to be money for that kind of stuff if, in fact, these spending levels get cut.
If they begin to slide, if they begin to cut back, then all of the grandiose programs are going to be tough to fund. Gentlemen.